how old?
I was like 15.
What did you think in that moment?
I wanted him to shoot me too.
Despite all of the atrocities, despite everything that has happened to you at your father's hands, addicting you to drugs, molesting you, raping you, everything that we're talking about, how do you feel about him?
I love him. But I hate him at the same time. I want to ever let go of him, ever.
So you love him?
Yeah.
You wish he was out of prison?
Yeah.
If you get married someday, you want him to give you away?
I would like that, yeah. But I want him to finish his prison sentence, but be different when he comes out. Get the help he needs while he's in there, and then be different when he comes out.
Is it confusing to you that you love him and miss him and want him back in your life, and at the same time, he has done monstrous things to you?
Yeah, it's really confusing. That's what's hard to explain to other people that want to know, why do you still love him? You know, it's like, well, first of all, because he's my dad. Second of all, like, I was daddy's little girl, like, my whole life. And he's gone now. Maybe forever. That's a big deal to me.
I wrote down some of the things that you've said about him. You said, he was my best friend, my everything. I loved my dad more than anyone in the whole world. I feel guilty for putting my dad in prison. I wish he could live a life outside of jail. All true?
That's true.
I wish mom and dad could be together again, because I was always daddy's little girl. Tell me if I get this right. You're right, he did monstrous things, but he also loved me and cared for me, and he always came back for me.
That's right.
And you're confused how you could have those two things coexisting within you, right?
Yeah.
If I could explain that to you,
Okay.
if I could help you unravel that ball of confusion, would that help you?
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. We've got to take a break. Taylor is the oldest of 6 children. Was she the only one molested by their father? Or were her younger sisters being groomed? Well, we're going to talk to them when we come back.
Taylor and Russ talked together like they were married.
He had his arm around her a lot of the times. I was so jealous of Taylor and Russ's relationship when I was little. But looking back now, I'm so thankful that I didn't have it.
When I think of Russ, I think of hell.
Taylor says no one knew the secret she and her dad were keeping from everyone. Now, she has 2 younger sisters who say they actually used to be jealous of the close relationship Taylor had with their dad. Now they say they want nothing to do with him. They refuse to call him dad and instead refer to him by his first name, Russ.
The connection between Taylor and Russ was very physical, very touchy, and very strong. He always hugged her.
And I noticed that he had his arm around her a lot of the times, too.
They talked together like they were married.
When they were together, they would have sleepovers. Taylor would still sleep by him, and I'd walk in and they'd be like spooning or something. I was so jealous of Taylor and Russ's relationship when I was little. But looking back now, I'm so thankful that I didn't have it.
When I think of Russ, I think of hell. I remember one time we were on a trip. Russ had just taken a shower. He came out in a tight underwear, nothing else on. I was laying on the bed. He came over and he ended up laying on me and wouldn't get off. I said, "Dad, get off me now." And his hot breath was on my neck, and I was so afraid. I kicked, I punched him in the chest. He was laughing, saying, "You're not strong enough." I shoved him really hard in the chest once and kicked him, and he fell off and didn't come back at me again. After that incident, I found one of his knives and hid it under my mattress every night just to feel safe.
Russ is a monster. He's a beast.
Thank both of you for being here. Tell us how you believe she saved you.
If she wouldn't have come out with this information when she did, I would have been hurt. Russ was starting to groom me by taking pictures of me. He was buying me things. He was saying, let's go on trips together, just things like that.
So you were next. You were the next victim.
I was the next victim.
And how do you feel about the fact that you saved them by coming out and telling the truth?
I could see that he was grooming my little sister up. Like, I knew that it was gonna happen. Like, I knew. And that just made me sick.
When we were growing up, she'd always know when to leave the right moment, when to take the kids, and when to step in. And that was a big thing that saved me and us kids from.
But this is when we were divorced. This is when they were with him alone,
Right.
away from me.
So you would see her put herself between him and you,
Yeah, and
both time-wise and physically.
I didn't know what, I didn't think he was that bad. I knew I had a horrible feeling. I didn't know why, but I knew that she needed to be there and that she was saving us.
Now, let me ask you this. When you would see them together, because you would say you were on trips, and you said they acted like a married couple, they were touching and talking and those things, was your creepy meter going off? I mean, was it just making you go, this isn't right?
I had a bad feeling, like I said earlier, but it wasn't like, oh, it's just normal. Let's just let it go.
Did you feel the same way?
I would see them spooning or just laying by each other. It really bothered me, and it disturbed me a little bit.
Did you ever say anything to your mother about it?
Yes, she actually asked me about it, and I told her that they had still been sleeping together, and Taylor was older. She was like 16.
And I asked her about it, and I did ask her, has anything ever happened? Has he ever touched you inappropriately? Has anything ever happened? And she said no. She acted like, ew, that's gross. Like, that's something that, how could I even think of that? Why would I even think to ask her that?
You heard me read a number of quotes from Taylor. He was my everything. I loved him more than anyone in the world. Thought of losing him is terrifying. I wish he would live his life out of prison. Said she would want him to give her away. How do you feel about it when you hear her say that?
When she says that, immediately for me, my stomach just is in knots and I feel sick.
Let me explain something to the three of you that I think it's very important to understand. It's hard to wrap your mind around something. You said, I had a bad feeling, but I didn't know, you didn't have any box to put it in. Because a 13-year-old girl doesn't look at a father and sister and go, oh, wow, they must be doing drugs and sex. There was no reason that would ever go through your mind. You don't have the capacity to see that. Thank God that you have a degree of innocence that you don't see that. Just as you can look at a mother and say, how could she not know? But it's the reason we do this kind of show. This is a cautionary tale. Right now, had this show aired and you watched this show, the three of you, you might have said, whoa,
Oh, yeah.
wait a minute. He just put a frame around some stuff that I didn't know what to do with.
Exactly.
So by doing this show, maybe, I guarantee you, this is happening in homes across America right now.
No, yeah.
And you need to listen and don't think, oh, it just couldn't be. It can be, and it is. And I would rather accuse somebody innocent 1,000 times in a row than fail to accuse someone that's guilty and let them continue to victimize their person. So it's a false positive situation. Now, coming up, one of Russell's own siblings was the person who wrote into the show. She believes Taylor was brainwashed by her brother, Taylor's father. And then Taylor and I are going to go nose to nose and I'm going to tell her what's going on in her mind, her brain, and her body. We'll be right back.
If Russ was released from prison tomorrow, I know without a doubt that Taylor would be living with him.
I was my daddy's little girl, and I still am my daddy's girl.
Taylor was brainwashed by her dad.
Even with Russ behind bars, the girls still show signs of being traumatized. One daughter refuses to shower with her eyes closed. We have another daughter who has to sleep with a knife between the mattresses. If you were to drive by our home 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you would think everybody in the house is awake with all the lights that are on. It cannot be in the dark at all. As a police officer, this case is one of the most horrific ones I've ever encountered with.
Well, Dina's new husband, Randy, says the girls are still dealing with the aftermath of Russell's crimes. They say they want nothing to do with their dad ever again, but Taylor, and they don't call him dad, by the way, but Taylor just doesn't feel the way they do. Take a look.
I was my daddy's little girl, and I still am my daddy's girl.
Taylor's thinking is so twisted that I hope that it is not past any repair.
Taylor was mentally brainwashed and abused by her dad to the point where she believes he's the only person that truly loves her, truly understands her, and the only person that she trusts.
He's been my abuser and protector.
After the divorce, my mom tried telling me not to see my dad. If she said no, I lied to her and saw him. I continued to see my dad because he was my other half. I just felt incomplete without him.
When they sentenced him to prison, she pleaded with the judge that she would get him help.
I just want my father to know that I love him so much. I love him so much. The time that we have been apart has killed me. I just want him to get the help that he needs, and I want him to be happy.
Taylor told me that she doesn't want to get married until her dad gets out of prison so he can walk her down the aisle. If Russ was released from prison tomorrow, I know without a doubt that Taylor would be living with him.
I don't hate my dad at all. I never will. I'll always love him.
Well, and of course, you talked about the fact that you're conflicted about that. That is the way you feel in part, correct?
That's right.
Well, Russell Blaster was actually wrote in to show saying, please help Taylor and her family and join him. Talking about your brother here, how do you feel about this being a blood relative that we're talking about up here?
Well, this is hard because my other siblings are they're not anything like Russell. He's always had problems, but we never envisioned that he could be this evil.
Debbie is the sister of Russell Black, and Russell was arrested and charged with 12 first and second degree felonies for rape, sodomy, and forcible sexual abuse. After accepting a plea bargain, he was sentenced to 3 years to life for 2 counts of attempted forcible sodomy and first degree felonies. That's what he was charged with, but it got pled down. So also joining us on the phone is the prosecuting attorney in this case, Julia Thomas. Julia, when I read that he was sentenced to 3 years to life, I saw so many people in the audience gasp, like, wow, 3 years seems like a really short period of time. What do you have to say about it?
Well, on the short end, it's 3 years to life for each count, and they were sentenced consecutively, so that would be 6 years to life. But on the far end, he could conceivably spend the rest of his life in prison on these counts.
I know that he pled out, and I know that sometimes those that plea bargain have